Welcome to Matt Made It. I'm in my CNC room today. I'm making this little sign for a customer, and I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently than I've done in the past. Let's go over to the computer and I'll quickly show you the design and how I'm going to finish the sign. So here's the sign I'm going to be carving. It's smaller than the other no soliciting signs I've made, which this size was requested by the customer. So I had to redesign it a little bit. If I come up here to this side, I can turn on all the toolpaths. I'll turn off the logo. And then go to the 3D view, and then I'll preview these. So here's what the sign will look like when it's done. It'll be green and white. Now in the past, I would just carve the sign, paint the whole thing white, and then come in by hand and paint the green on top in these raised areas. But what I've seen people do is use this masking material to make this process go a lot quicker and be easier. So I have the piece of wood I'm using. I painted the whole top surface green, and I'm going to mask it off with the masking material and then do my carve. Once that carve is done, I'll paint the entire thing white. I'll peel off the masking material, which should reveal the green and should leave me a finished sign. I might have a little bit of touch up to do here and there, but it should be pretty much done. So I'll show you which masking material I'm using. We'll get it put on, do the carve, and see how this works. This is the vinyl I'll be using for my masking material. It is Oracal 631. This is a 12 inch by 50 foot long roll that I got on Amazon. It's about 35 bucks. I'll put a link to it in the description below if you're interested in checking this out. As I said, this is 12 inches wide. The sign I'm carving is only 10 inches wide by 7 inches high, so I can just use a strip of this this way, and that should be plenty. If I just center it here, that should be plenty to mask off my sign. Now those of us that don't use the metric system all the time, you might look at this and think it's a 1/2 inch grid square, but it's not. This is a 1 centimeter grid square, so be careful of that. I need 7 inches this way. If I counted 14 of these grids, I would only have 14 centimeters, not 7 inches. That's only about 5.5 inches or so. So I'm going to measure this off 7 inches, or I can just use my wood if I wanted to. But if you are going to measure this off for how much you need for your project, just keep in mind this is a 1 centimeter grid square and not a 1/2 inch grid square. I'm going to push this down with my roller here. Make sure I get it stuck down really well. I might be overdoing this, but this is the first time I've done this, so I'm just kind of learning here. If you have more experience with this method and you have any tips on doing it, post it in the comments down below. I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say. So I think that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get set up to do the carve, and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, obviously that's not looking very good, and I think I realized my problem. I'm using an upcut end mill, and I think if I had done this with a downcut end mill, this would carve a lot cleaner. So I'm going to change this to a downcut end mill. I'm going to reprobe my Z, start the program over, and see if that looks any better. Alright, I have the downcut bit installed. I'm going to start this carve over and see if it helps at all. You can see where there's fresh cuts made. It looks really clean with that downcut bit. But I don't think it made a fresh cut up here or on the bottom of the word no. But obviously a downcut bit is really what you need to do on a carve like this with the masking material. So I went through my bits, and it turns out I don't have a 1/8 inch downcut end mill. I do have some 1/8 inch straight cut end mills, so I put one of those in, and I'm going to give that a shot. Alright guys, so this carve is a fail. It's pretty obvious something shifted, possibly while I was changing bits, but the letters aren't carved correctly, the border's not carved correctly. But I did learn something very important on this that's going to make the second attempt a success. As you can see, the cutout was done very clean. That was cut with the straight cut end mill. And then the inside edges where it's really clean, that was cut with the down cut 1/4 inch end mill. I'm gonna go ahead and peel off some more of this masking material and see how that paint looks underneath it. So the paint looks really good under the Oracal vinyl, as you can see here. If the carve would have went according to plan, I'd have a sign ready for white paint. As it is, I'll have to get a new piece of wood and paint it and redo this carve. But using what I learned doing this carve, it should go really smoothly. Alright, I have a new piece of wood painted and masked off, ready to go in the CNC machine. And I have a new 1/8 inch downcut end mill installed in the machine. So this one right here, I just got it in the mail last night. So everything's ready to go. Let's get this sign carved. One thing I wanted to mention real quick was when I first did the toolpath for this sign, I did the main pocket in a clearing pass and then a finish pass. The clearing pass was done with a 1/4 inch end mill, and then the finish was with an 1/8 inch end mill. This is a really small sign, so I decided to redo that toolpath just using the 1/8 inch end mill and see how much time that was going to cost me in the total carve. Turns out it only added about 2 minutes of time to the carve, but it saves me a tool change, re-zeroing Z, and it eliminates any possibility of something getting messed up during that process. So don't be afraid to run your toolpath a few different times, maybe using a different bit or a different method. You may find a better way of doing a carve than the way you had planned. Alright, enough chit chat. Let's get this thing fired up. Well, that downcut end mill and this Oracal masking really did the trick. All the masking stayed in place just like it's supposed to. Nice clean lines everywhere. I just have a little bit of cleanup to do with some sandpaper. Spray it white, peel off the masking to reveal the green paint underneath, and this sign will be done. So the painting's all done. I had a few things come up, so it's been sitting for a couple days, but I'm anxious to peel off the Oracal vinyl and see how this looks. So I'll get this camera moved and we'll check it out. So here's the sign. I always provide mounting screws with my signs, and of course you got to paint the screws to match the sign. It's all about the details, but let's get this masking peeled off, see how it looks. Not bad so far. And there's your sign. I think it looks really good. After peeling a couple of the letters, I kind of found a technique that worked for me, and it went pretty quick. Well, there you go. Our small sign here worked out great. That Oracal 631 vinyl made the painting process much easier. Painting all that lettering by hand, that's for the birds. I'll definitely be doing it this way in the future. I have another type of masking material in the shop, so the next thing I want to do is do a carve using that, compare these two products, and see which one works out best. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you get notified when that video comes out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.